very close to me, because all people who come to think about what is developing, what is happening in civilization, in our society, all of us understand that something is going wrong on the planet, and we are always reaching some dead ends, and we have to find some ways out. That's why the main problem, which is outlined, is the consumerist format of society. There is an ancient philosophers used to say that the needs for normal life of a human, they are quite scarce, but the needs which are developing along with bad mood, with bad qualities of people in a parasitic culture, actually they are endless. It's allergic need of having a car, a plane, and other stuff, other items which are actually needless for people, for any normal person. So this idea is quite correct, and the problem is raised in a correct way by the volunteers, by people who actually started this project. And it is proper approach that you put this emphasis for the entire world, because it's impossible to solve this problem in one separate country. It's absolutely impossible. So basically this idea has to cover and embrace all the globe, all the society, the human community. And the first task is to inform people. As for me, I would say that the problem is not just with informing, but even with educating a broad circle of people, because many people, if we just give them the definition of creative society, it's not enough. We also have to explain to them what it means. And I will also say later on about some economic and social particularities of why our society is now not in a dead end, and why there is no way out in the consumerist format. Also from the point of view of spiritual and moral values, and also from the social and economic values, we are really in a dead end. And this consumerist basis of this consumerist format actually has reached its deadlock. It's like the law of denial, when there are certain phenomena that reach a certain point, and it's point of no return. After that, there has to be some new format created in this case, which denies consumerism but suggests some other solutions, some formulas to solve how the issue of transition for the civilization from current state to some other level of existence. Of course, it includes spiritual, economic, and social aspects, and the tool of political aspect is a different thing. And of course, we should observe how human consciousness changes, because a human is the only being on this planet who possesses, let's say, as we were taught in the Soviet Union, that animals do not think. Yes, that's not true. Animals do think, but the difference between an animal and a human, that a human self-identifies. He perceives himself as some substance which is beyond material body. And we speak, of course, about some educated people who understand these things, who are higher than some animal consumerist needs as in consumerist format. And when we speak of the creative society, we should understand that basically the consumerist format has been developing us in a wrong way, and it's a deadlock way. If we, even from an economic point of view, if we continue developing this direction, it's a deadlock. at the conference, the issues of climate and environment were raised, and if we continue developing as we are doing now, we will just vanish, and we will destroy and ruin our planet, turning into biomass. Right now, we're already kind of a biomass which only produces some, like in the ocean, there is this plastic batch, and also now it is shown quite correctly on the conference that society is fighting with their own enemy right now with CO2 and other things, and the environment is also actually as an important aspect, but it's another point of view, it's another side of the coin, which shows how we can deal with what we have. That actually we are given something by nature and how we can cope with this. So the very idea of the creative society is very right and timely, because there is such a concept as transiency in our world, and today we can observe how fast everything flows. For example, I live in Kiev, and within one trip, in a train or in a plane, I can see many more people, or in a subway, I can see many more people than my grandmother or grandfather could see in whole his life. Like in the previous centuries, they used to travel for months to reach France or other European cities, and in order to reach the United States, you had to spend a whole lot of months to sail there. But now you can instantly communicate with any part of the world, and you do all transactions, including financial transactions, very fast. This kind of compresses our entire space, and this transiency doesn't leave us any opportunity to think and act slowly. We have to act faster, because all these factors which were outlined at the conference, including social, economic, and even this non-spiritual aspect, lack of spirituality, this biggest problem of our time, and human trafficking, which is totally terrible. All these problems actually...
Your impression, I think later during our international discussion, we can raise again these topics and discuss more. And now we want to hear impressions of our guests, what they think about the conference, and why, as you were correctly saying, it's very important and really on time right now to raise such topics as we have discussed during the conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. Alisa, can you please tell us more about this question and about the conference? What do you think about it? What is your feedback?
I do think that it's something vital, because it's bringing this awareness that a lot of people have maybe forgotten or haven't had time to focus on because of all the distractions in what's currently portrayed in the media. I think it's something that schools and preschools should really focus on as well, because we're talking about a current situation and how to solve it, whereas we tend to forget about the people who can solve it, which is including our children. And the reason why I think it's so important is because you're shaping their minds, and children are quite quick to pick up these concepts, and they want to help. They naturally have this love and this curiosity. So if we can translate that for them to understand, I think the children can definitely expand upon this in ways that probably we haven't even thought about.
Thank you so much, Alisa. And yes, I think, like you said, focusing on children is also very important and should also be part of the creative society, and, it's our future. And right now I would like to also pass the word to Vaclav. So Vaclav, how do you see the conference? What was the most What impressed you the most? Your feedback.
Hello, friends. Thank you for passing the word to me. Personally to myself, it was like a holiday. Holiday because many good and honest people joined their hands, their efforts, not only in this long marathon, right? To prepare all this material, to gather, to do this many interviews with people working in different spheres of our life, but as well, at the time of the event, to stand up and speak to the whole humanity, with a one single goal, to show the global threats, which are coming to us, and the way out, which is the creative society. And it was really amazing work, because just imagine conference that we participants managed to translate to over 100 languages. Personally, myself, I don't know any other organization in the world that would be capable of doing so. And yeah, this is like, if I should say it in these words, this is the great impression that I had from that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your expression about it, and it was really amazing event. And it's also correctly said it's like a holiday. When we hear the truth, we understand how beautiful it is actually to really know what is going on, because it's very, very important to understand the truth, because when you just don't know about it, you hear some examples maybe, or some part, but you don't know the complete picture. And when you really understand what is going on, you understand that you should do something, and you should act, because it's right now, it's really time to act and to face what is really going on. Because if we just will stay and do nothing, we'll come as a society to the dead end. And my next question is to Piotr. So why consumers formats leads to this dead end? So most people don't see it, and how actually, maybe with some examples, we can really make the situation different, and maybe you can explain more about the degradation of consumerist format, like explain about it more, and why do you think again what it's important to raise such topics, and that we really need to do something, how to explain it to people?
Thank you, Alexander. Yes, it's very important to explain it. It's nice that I have a chance to explain the cause and effect relationships. I'll try to be brief, but there are basic things which we just cannot omit, because we cannot do without them. If we take, let's say, the recent history of humanity, not going some millennia ago when there were hunters and gatherers and earlier, but if we take more modern history of our civilization, we can distinguish several types of civilizations or cultures, but we distinguish certain stages in terms of technology. The first stage is the agrarian type of society, when the basis of society was, the economical basis on which actually the whole foundation of vital activity of people was built. It's like without bread, without food, it's impossible for humans to eat. So the agrarian society is the one which is based on plant growing, agriculture, and plant growing and cattle breeding. Basically, this determined the social basis of relationships in between people. What I would like to say is that from the scientific point of view, I would like to substantiate why the consumerist format is obsolete and it doesn't have potential of long-term development, no matter how some people want this to be otherwise. Because there are some people who believe that they have power on this planet and they decide everything. But going back to history, after agrarian society, there was industrial society, and it changed the economic and industrial development and vital activity of people. The basis shifted towards a manufacture industry, and at that time international markets began to be developed. There was already an exchange of goods and services between countries, and actually thanks to that people find out that there are some other nations, other countries, and some other continents, and all this was developing through the trade. But again, the agrarian society went to the past. Why? Because they reached a certain self-sufficient level, and after that people wanted not just, like bread and circus, but they also wanted to have some other benefits of civilization. So in the middle of the 19th century, the industrial society started to be transforming into post-industrial society. We have various classifications, but the basis is the following: that what happened in many countries, like in the 20th century, there was the crisis of overproduction, as you might remember from history. But what's the point is that after that, the informational society came into being. And in terms of technology and the way how the society is classified and stratified, this society shifted from industrial to post-industrial and then to informational. What is the main benefit right now in our society is information and knowledge, which is transferred through technology. We can communicate with you even right now through technology, through software, like right now via Zoom. And for example, when in the past there were some teams of workers, tens of hundreds workers who worked in the field, then in the manufacture, and there was the main point is the technology, which ensured that there will be some efficiency in their production. Right now, the main driver of development is technology, information technology, and knowledge. Speaking of the economic aspect, we also can speak of the social and spiritual aspects of our society. And the point is the following, that this technogenic civilization, although I'll go back to spiritual aspects later on, the technical point is one point, but the moral and spiritual aspect of our society is another point, although it's like different sides of the same medal. So if we focus solely on economic and technological aspects, the technogenic load on our planet has actually exceeded all limits, and it is growing like a snowball, and it can overwhelm the planet. The planet will survive, but will we survive or not? That's the question, because the climate changes which were discussed at the conference and combined with the technological changes, they have also various aspects. The cataclysms which are now happening, they are happening all around, and they are not quite discussed by mainstream mass media. Only if there is some large-scale disaster happening, like a big-time tornado, then they will discuss it on the news. But in general, if we look like on the conference, now we have a comprehensive overall understanding of the entire situation, because any smart or intelligent person could look at what I've seen, what you see, and like I've seen the conference, and I was shocked at the scope of the problems we have. The level of consumption right now exceeds all normal levels, reasonable levels. A human does not need so much. a human should not have a house on the Canary Islands if he goes there just for a couple of days a year. So this ruling elite who have all the benefits right now, they exceeded all the limits, all the possible limits, but their behavior creates a load on the environment and the biosphere on humanity. And the noosphere, which was discussed, noosphere, which was discussed by Professor Vinatsky from Ukraine, this sphere starts to overwhelm and overload all these spheres of vital activity of our planet Earth. And this consumerism, this terrible consumerism, is not civilized at all. It has exceeded all the possible limits. We create many useless things. And like, for example, when there is some autopsy on the dead bodies, whatever items are found in those bodies, this plastic, it contaminates and pollutes and poisons all of us through air, through food. So the planet has some, extra billions of years, and it will survive, but the humanity might not survive because of such an approach to life. So therefore, we surely have to eliminate this current format of society. We have to transition to some level of self-sufficiency. Of course, every person should be in clothes, should have all the basic needs satisfied. And next, there will be some transition. There has to be some transition to, like in philosophy, they say, it's in transition from the quantity into quality. When, for example, a family with many kids and a woman has an automated washing machine, of course it helps a lot to her mother to wash all the clothes for all the family. 30 years ago, she had to wash all these things for half a year. So technology helps her. But another question is, how will she use this time which liberates for her after using technology? In order to go somewhere and communicate, now you don't have to spend a lot of money. You have to just go into the internet and communicate from whatever point you are. And this technology provides us with an opportunity to release so much energy, but this energy should be directed into creative, good, nice vector. And unfortunately, not all the people live like this. So, on the one hand, I would say from the economical point of view, it's one thing, it's this society is in the dead end, but from the spiritual point of view, it's also the dead end, because during the conference, the issue was also raised by women whose mother would like to send her child to the war. Which mother would like to send her child there? But the point is that these wars are because there is such a format. Somebody benefits from having these wars all around, because several families on the earth actually own all the wealth, most of the transnational companies, and hold almost 50% of the economic potential of planet Earth. These are like several dozens of families, but here we have another 8 billion people who have to work for this. Of course, it's a terrible global injustice. Therefore, we have about 1 billion people who are hungry, and there is a golden billion, or maybe less, I guess it's much less, who live quite well. And basically what we see right now in the media does not declare all this and does not show this in a large scale. Why is everything done again through the mass media to frighten people, to intimidate them, in order to easily control them, because it is easier to control hungry and fearful people. But basically, and understand that this stage is very important. We have to distinguish everything, and for this we should use all possible channels, YouTube channels and social media, TV, etc.
Information you touched on, I think that's really important. And maybe I would like to, Alisa, would you like to comment to what you just heard from Piotr?
I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to speak. And I completely agree with having that information disposable to everyone. It's a funny thing when you speak of media, because all around the world, sometimes the media is not always portrayed the same, which is very funny, because in one country it can say, you know, oh, we're having these natural disasters. Another country focuses on something else. So for us to, I think, piece together all the information that's giving us a broader view of what's actually happening is pretty vital.
Yes, that's true.
Alisa, we know that you were watching the conference, and you have found the topic of refugees very important. And actually, even for me, it was really a shocking information when I heard it for the first time in the previous conference. It was in 24th July. And right now, it's also very wild information that you heard. Maybe you also comment on this. It's especially what we hear in media and what is really going on in reality.
Yes, that was, I think, the most touching thing that I did watch. I think working with refugees, or just knowing about what they go through, it's something that everyone should understand, because it is a really hard thing for people to see, but it's also something that needs to be seen. And it's hard when you want to introduce such concepts to children or even adults. Some adults can't even handle such things, but I think doing it in this format where it's showing them, you know, specialists who know what's happening behind the scenes, and getting this information across the way that you guys have done it, I think is just, it's a really good way to conduct it. I was actually thinking about how we could focus this in more of a level where we can teach children about how, you know, how to be more compassionate, so that when they do grow up, they're not going to participate in that kind of behavior that kind of makes life harder for others, but rather than, you know, bring some love and compassion into the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alisa. Thank you for your point of view. And right now, actually, I would like to ask Vaclav, because, you know, the conference also touched upon the so-called green energy. And the green energy topic is right now, like, you know, very popular all over the world. Everybody's talking about it, that we should, you know, jump on green energy. We hear it all the time from, you know, everywhere. But after the conference, it became evident that it's actually not so green. And we learned the truth about it and what actually stands behind it. And surprisingly, we know that it's money as usual, but not just that. And we actually wanted to ask Vaclav, like, Vaclav, can you share your, you know, opinion on what you understood from the conference and from all the scientists which actually, you know, honestly talked about this green energy?
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela, very much for the word. First, I would like to just quickly get back to the refugee theme, because I was as well participating in preparation for the conference and was taking interviews with the refugees myself. You know, and if you just, again, get back to the media, to this very picture that it is presented to us, right, which they show basically just 5% of the behavior of refugees, and mostly it is really negative picture, you know, like when they harm someone or steal something from someone and so further. So thanks to this picture, our consciousness is being formed and we accept this picture, you know. But when I was taking these interviews, my picture completely changed. I understood that they are very the same people like we are, you know, that they want to let's say, live in normal conditions, human conditions. They want to build house, you know, get a car, make a family, have a nice job, you know, just like us, you know, they are the same people. And again, we have to ask here this very serious question. Why do those people leave their houses? You think that someone just leave his house because he has nothing else to do? That is the thing, because those conditions that these people live in are really terrible, non-humane, you know. And there was one particular interview which I really will remember. We get to interview two, let's say, friends, you know, brothers, which they met in Greece while they were, let's say, escaping, right, on a way to from their home country to the Europe. And the guy, when we asked him question, how was his way here, you know, which obstacles was there, what was his path, you know, he said, I was holding below the truck for 16 hours. Guys, this is something which is terrible. And he said, I had serious problems after, like, I released myself from the truck with my spine, with my back, you know. And he said it was, even when he, let's say, came to the Europe, he said it was for him very difficult, you know, to be here. Again, why? Because we know what is happening, you know, for example, in this very Europe. Instead, opening, you know, our, let's say, arms and helping these people, because we understand that they are the same, right? We build walls, you know, and that is the thing. Unless we understand that we are all one, that we have one common place to live, our earth, nothing is going to change in this world. Because again, these very fences, they are built by people, right? By our hands. So when we start to understand this, it is a very good step to really stop all these bordering, you know, differentiating and really helping each other, you know, giving a helping hand to our friends. And now let me go to the topic of the green energy. Myself, for me, this part was as well shocking because we now see these green products everywhere, right? Like today, I've seen some advertisement for green juice. Friends, how can juice be more green? I don't understand this, you know, that it's like kind of you're getting to the funny moment. But I would say it is more sad than funny because what I learned from the conference, that all these green energies, you know, like wind farms or solar panels, no matter which one you take, this is just a huge business, meaning someone makes money. While for us ordinary people, for example, prices are increasing for this very heating or electricity every year, and it's going to be worse and worse and worse. And, you know, if, for example, we take the topic of these wind farms, right? So it was very clearly shown in one video that, for example, to produce, right, these wind turbines, it costs a huge amount of money. Plus, it is made out of materials which are hazardous and very, let's say, chemic, you know, strong chemistry is used to produce them. And they are not even able, you know, in their lifespan to recoup the amount that is invested in order to build them, meaning in percentage, we speak here about 80%, you know, and then like, there is the thing, why someone would do a business which would not recoup, which would not give you the money back, right? And then we can speculate even further. Who is doing it? What is the real purpose? And we will get again to the very same root of our problems. Consumer format of society, meaning like there is a saying, you know, there's nothing personal, you know, it's just a business. This is the world we live in, my friends. That's why we need to change to the creative society, you know. Again, this topic, for example, of solar panels, very similar thing, like what is the lifespan of these very solar panels, which chemistry is used in order to produce them, and then when we go to this nice topic of recycling, they are not recyclable. So what do they do with them? They basically grab them into the land, so they are ending all on the landslides. And this everything poisons the environment, friends, that we live in. We breathe the air, we plant there our food, and then in the result, we eat it, right? So, everything in our world is connected. We should be, let's say, more wise about where we put our attention, to what really we invest to, and really start thinking about other people's lives. So, one more thing, all these green energies, as I mentioned already, it is just a huge business, right? Which is, let's say, beneficial to only certain group of people, right, on this planet. But again, where are we, ordinary people? Which benefits do we have it from? Another thing, they are all dependent on the resources of the planet or on the sun. What you gonna do when there's gonna be no more sun, let's say, for upcoming 60 days or half a year, What are you gonna do with these very solar panels? Because they will not be able sufficiently to provide the energy for all the houses. So what we're going to experience, blackouts, right? This is what we're gonna get. And again, elite, right, of this world, as was mentioned by Peter, they will be somewhere there having some kind of backup plan. But who has a backup plan for the humanity? Who has the backup plan for the people? Does anyone think of people in this world? And friends, there is already a wonderful technology, which we presented as well on the previous conference. So those called FFGs, fuel-free generators, which are able to provide sufficient amount of energy for every human being. But again, imagine that now we would put them, in the format of society that we have. What it will again lead to, right? Because everything is dependent here. It will leave many families without an income, without the resources for living, right? Because in nowadays actual power plants that are, let's say, built all over the earth, many people are employed. And when we just shut them down and replace them by this very wonderful technology, many people will be left without the resources, without the money. This means, again, leading us to this very consumer format of society. That's why we need to change, and we need to change it as soon as possible, because imagine, a tremendous opportunities opens to the whole humanity when we unite, when we stop listening to our ego, which constantly wants to control something, to dominate, to eat more and more and more, to just grab a bigger piece of cake. When we start thinking of others, when we unite our human potential, we will change this world for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Vaclav. Thank you very much for sharing all this information. And it's really a really great opportunity that we have right now, this chance with development of technologies, as also Piotr said, we are connected with each other. Now we don't need to waste our time. We can really just do our best to share this information. And really, when we see all these distortions of the modern society, all these issues that we have, this format with the issues exists only because we support it. Because we, with our time, with our attention, we support all this. Even if we take, for example, like normal life of a person, regular, ordinary person, when he or she buys something in the market, he also supports slavery in the end, because everything on our world is interconnected. Some people do not waste so much money and pay properly for someone getting their job done. So they use slaves. And in the end, if we are living in this society, if we are also part of it, we're supporting it, even if we don't know all the details, what is really happening. And that's the main point, that we need to really understand what is going on. We need to know the truth and then share it with many people, and take responsibility for what is going on. And in order to explain it, we, with our friends, we made a small video about responsibility, about that only united we can change this format and we can build the creative society. So let us watch this video.
Humanity, various races, nationalities, religions, but we are all sailing in the same boat in this ocean of life. At the course of all-absorbing consumerism, which our common ship has taken today, is leading us to precipice. Just a little longer, and we will irreversibly fall into the abyss of economic, social, and climate catastrophes. Perhaps someone doesn't want to see and admit obvious facts, yet being afraid to turn around and see the reality. In the endless rush, in the ordinary everyday routine, in the race for success and survival in this world of consumerism. But every day, more and more people stop and ask themselves these questions. Where is this world coming to? What does the future hold for me and my children? How can I make sure that the world will be a safe, happy, and prosperous place? After all, no matter how successful you are, if the whole world is falling apart, there is no way you can avoid a bitter fate. We can change the course of our ship, which is speeding into the abyss, and instead of the abyss of consumption, steer it in the direction of the creative society. But we can do this only together. We need to unite our collective human potential, become a united civilization, and row in one direction. Uniting in a common goal, we need to direct our attention, our efforts, our knowledge, and our skills to charting a new course. And how quickly we can do this depends on the choice of each person. Our salvation is only in our unity. Only by working together can we build a truly decent world. A world that will have a future for us and our children. And that is the creative society. We still have a chance. So let's take it.
This is really a great video, very, very inspiring, because, you realize that really we are, all on the same boat. And I really like the part where, all the people are on the same boat and they're like paddling, the same direction, because, they're already synchronized. And this is the, really, really important part of actually uniting our own human potential, uniting the potential of all the scientists. For instance, all the scientists which actually spoke at the conference, they even spoke the truth. And I'm pretty sure it was not that easy for them, to speak up, because, many times people are scared, they can lose their job. But, there is no time to be scared. And I'm so happy they're actually starting to speak up. They're not afraid. They're like coming out with this truth, and it is sounding around the world. And people are actually waking up from this consumerist format. And, if we can only do it together, as the video mentioned, then we actually have to spread this information. So everybody has to see this conference. Everybody has to learn about creative society. So how can we actually do it? I'm going to ask Alisa, what can we as ordinary people to do in order to implement, creative society?
One thing I know that we can do is start teaching it more in school settings, especially preschools, because children at that age, they don't have what we call an ego. they absorb a lot of information and they can correlate it really well. And they have something that a lot of us lose when we grow up, and that is just this sense of innocence and love. So if you teach them to take care of the world, to take care of each other as humanity, as humans together, then it's just really, you can see it in the classrooms. For example, you give them a group project and you can really nurture kids in how they care for each other by giving them positive reinforcement. Like, I really like the way that you helped Sandra put her shoes on. That was very kind. It's just little things like that that we need to focus more on, because that way you can teach them that, being together as a group, you can do so many things, you can accomplish so many things, and you can really take care of each other in the world in that way.
Yes, thanks so much. And I would like to also address the same question to Piotr. What exactly practically we can do as an ordinary person? Because we receive many questions, like someone saying, "Oh, I'm not a politician, I'm not a businessman, but what can I do? Like me, like an ordinary person with all these daily tasks and daily things, and what can I do to share this information, to really make my own contribution to our common goal, to creative society?" Can you?
Thank you very much, Alexander. Yes, it's a very important point, because if we know there is such a saying that with the good intentions there is a way, so you know where, and it's very important for society to get proper education and proper knowledge. Not just I not just can, but I'm obliged to do everything possible to ensure that, let's say, there is such a format which was in 1960s or 70s. There was a notion of productive society, the format of scientific society. It's when the governance and the power was in the hands of knowledgeable people, because sometimes very great things and great deeds are actually buried under other everyday mundane issues and problems. And this good ideas, large-scale ideas, should not be buried under some unwillingness of some countries or their lack of understanding how to implement this in practice, but to the government, or as usual, the government, as we understand that it's not the only model how society can be ruled. You can learn from history that a government or states, as we know them right now, they date back only to several millennia ago, but societies go back to 40,000 years and even earlier, and there were other civilizations, other cultures. When there are some cultures which with artifacts dating back to 130,000 years, and why these cultures vanished? Due to some objective reasons. It's very good that you involve scientists, and it's very proper thing to pose this task in front of scientists who really want to change something in society. And these have to be scientists, researchers in the field of public administration in particular, because social field society is a very complex sphere. This current format is already obsolete, but in order to change it, we need to, with the fact that it's ruining, there are some people dishonest people who have certain economic potential, who can influence governments, influence interest rates, and they use these problems of our consumerist format, creating a global crisis, especially in the financial field. We just in order for us to, to see that economic field and the financial field, it's like a soap bubble. It doesn't have any economic basis under it. And from here we have wars, and this is actually one of the reasons why these interest rates exist and why these wars happen in our planet, because there is this wrong economic machine of our society. At the conference, you were saying about format, and now you mentioned this word format, but what should we understand by this format? The very idea is very good, and it has a good substantiation. The bases which are on the website of Creative Society, the 8 foundations are totally correct. They outline the main aspects and values which there is such an for example, such a science as archaeology deals with values. Consumerist format is one aspect or set of values, is consumerist values. From here we have wars, from here we have all the dirty, bad things which we have on the planet Earth right now, with interest rates and other problems. Also the refugee problem, the slavery problem, which is terrible. Who would think that we will have slavery in the 21st century? But if there were spiritual values in our society, this would not be possible. And we have to understand this. Many various models of society, we have to explain to people that it is quite possible to live without governments, without state, and eventually we will live with them. But it's impossible to live without coordination, because the basis of any management or administration is coordination. It's coordination of interaction among people. But in the creative society, coordination should take place first and foremost on the platform of creation and spiritual values. These are all human values. Like we speak of human rights, but the main human right is the right for life. I would like to emphasize not the right for existence, but the right for life in a real human understanding, for decent life. A human should not be in poverty, homeless and unable to feed himself and his family. We can and must cope with these problems. But unfortunately, we still have this principle of divide and rule, and there are poor, miserable people whom it's very easy to control. But in a self-sufficient society, which has everything in abundance and all the needs of be satisfied, every person would have all the necessary benefits, then in such a case, of course, the interaction will be different, and the orientation should be towards self-development, towards development of the human community, of local communities, general community. Basically, everyone would be able to develop their communities at the level of a village, a town, a city, whatever. And of course, those people who can cope with such scale as a country or whole region or a continent, of course, these people should contribute to formation of new principles and new models of administration. So we have to develop a model of creative society. Because you're now speaking a lot about format, but we don't speak about what kind of society. We have to be united. We have to understand where we are going, what kind of society and format we would like to see in 30 years, in 50 years, because hopefully we will survive and we will deal with it and we'll go in the proper direction. And eventually we should deal with the concept. We should rely on the concept from transition from the consumerist format, which now destroys everyone, to the creative format. What will be, for example, the social model and the social basis, how this social structure of a society will be. This we have to stipulate this. We have to convey this to people. It should be in the format not clear only for scientists, but in the words which are clear to all people, to ordinary people. People who, for example, have some scientific knowledge right now, how this social interaction will take place among people, because we will not go away from coordination anywhere.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Piotr. Thank you so much for your interesting, examples how you were talking about. And of course, the coordination is really important. And, as one of the foundations of creative society is the self-governing society. That's very important, and there's an absence of power. And like we were talking about, there is no hierarchy here, because exactly there shouldn't be a hierarchy, because if there's a hierarchy, there is a power, and then of course it's not going to work. So we have to turn into the creative format. And now I would like to ask Vaclav, actually, that we know that you do a lot of TikTok live broadcasts, and you talk about the creative society a lot, and you also participate in technical support. So what motivates you to do this?
I think I'm motivated by this very goal of building the creative society, by building a home, a true home for every person on this planet. So as was mentioned by today's speaker, that there would be no hungry stomach, that all people would have enough of everything from themselves to live in a normal human conditions. And we know that we have 3 stages of building the creative society, and we are still on the first stage, which is information stage, meaning we have to ensure that every human on this planet knows about such possibility as creative society, as the only way out of the current global issues. And we have wonderful tools, all basically social media, social networks, no matter which one you pick, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all somehow works similar, they can be used to spread the information. And mostly, as Gabriela pointed out, I spend my time on TikTok because it works a bit differently than other networks, since you can really speak to a lot of people in a, let's say, very short time. Usually our streams, we have 3,000 people, coming to a single stream for 2 hours, which is quite a lot. And what I want to say, that all people are awaiting creative society, because this is precisely what we see from the experience when we go live. You have even no idea how many people write during the stream, I want to become the participant of creative society. How can I do it? What should I do? They feel so inspired, because they understand, friends. They understand that we bring the truth, and they feel it. That is the thing, that the personality, it always feels that there is no lie. Simply there cannot be, because we are all honest people, and people simply feel it, and they resonate with our words. And we see it as well, when there is an interaction, we as well try to answer, questions, because many people have questions, arising from how we're going to manage this or that question in creative society. And everything is very easy, we always recommend to read 8 foundations, because really, to any problem that exists nowadays, you can find the answer in these 8 foundations. And why, my friends? Because these 8 foundations, it is not a couple of friends after a hard working day gathered on a beer, thinking, how can we change the world? What should we do? And write down a few ideas on a piece of paper, right? No, my friends. Behind 8 foundations, there's a tremendous job done by the participants of the Creative Society project. In past 10 years, we have spoken to many people, millions of people all over the world, again, having different cultural backgrounds, different social statuses, working in different spheres of our lives. And after all these wonderful interviews, by the way, you can find them on our website, creativesociety.com, in different languages, we understood that all people want to live in peace, that all people want to live in harmony, in friendship, in brotherhood. all people are nice and, you know, kind. This is what we see from the interviews. And we analyzed all of these interviews and created 8 foundations of creative society. So these 8 foundations, those are the wishes of all people, you know, who want to live in creative society. So that's why the project basically resonates when we go online and talk about the creative society, and as well about the issues that society nowadays is already facing and will have to face in our near future. So friends, you know, it is actually very easy. We can use this tool, you know, go online, or just if, for example, for someone, it might be inconvenient, right, to stand in front of the camera. There might be some fears. But again, it is always just at the beginning. You know, like this very 5 minutes at the beginning. Once you step over it, you will understand that talking about a creative society, it's joy, you know. It's wonderful. Why again? Because it resonates, because we see that people are interested in the project, and this feedback that we have, it pushes us and motivates us to, again, every day join online and talk about the creative society, you know, because we understand, as it was said on the conference, only by our hands, only by our words, the creative society, mostly by our actions, can be built, you know. We shouldn't put hopes, you know, to, as today mentioned, to this very elite, because creative society can be built only by people themselves. So this is what we're doing, my friends. So I cordially invite you to join us in spreading message about a creative society. You know, you can shoot a little live log or just a few words to say, you know, right after this meeting or this broadcast. What understanding do you have, you know? Or, for example, share the conference, because as it was mentioned today, it is an eye-opening conference, you know, since it provides, as Sasha mentioned today, a full picture of all the events that are happening at the moment on our planet. And when we are informed, my friends, when we know the truth, we can make a right decision. And we all know what is the right decision, the right step that we need to take. You know, we need to start pedaling, and pedaling very fast towards the creative society. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaclav. Thank you so much. There is actually a little I can add to what you just said. It's a really nice suggestion to our viewers to record the understanding, to share it with people. And, you know, we hear all the time that, oh, you're doing such a brilliant job and you share it. I mean, but why I didn't hear about you? Yeah, you haven't heard about us because we are still need to inform all of the humanity about creative society. And it's our current task, and one major task that all of us are doing right now with all these international discussions, with the conferences. And not only these big events, but only one person can do really a lot when he has just, or he or she has just access to the internet and a smartphone. You can share your ideas, you can share a lot about how one can also inform about creative society. And it's really great to see such examples, be inspired by these examples. And we are also really happy to answer your questions. So if you have any question, please write us to our email info@creativesociety.com, or post it under this video in YouTube. So we are looking into them, and we will happily and eagerly answer it. So thank you so much. Thank you, our dear guests, for these wonderful discussions. And I pass the word to Gabriela.
Thank you so much, Alexander. And also thank you so much, our dear guests, for this wonderful discussion, your opinions, your feedbacks, and you are definitely also a great source of inspiration for all of us. And also, by your example, you are actually showing to others that it's very easy to be a hero today, who can actually literally save our world. Because now is the time to speak. Now is the time to speak up and, not be shy, don't be scared, just talk. because that is very important. And you are actually those heroes as well, because you're already going by your example. So we suggest to everyone, please watch this conference, like, all of us were already talking about, but not just watch it, but dive deeper. Because, we've been in this topic for some time already, and we are still learning a lot. For me, every time I watch some part, I'm getting a deeper and deeper understanding myself, because this is not really a climate or ecology, is not really my topic. I'm a physician, but every time I'm hearing about it, the puzzles are coming together, and I'm starting to myself see the bigger picture. And after I'm understanding the bigger picture, I can actually share this information better with, my patients. Actually, I talk to my patients about the conference, and I'm explaining the facts I learned, and they're amazed. They have no idea those things are happening. And I'm telling them, just watch the conference, watch it yourself, get your understanding, and please share it with your friends. And we can actually, this simple way also, spread information about the conference, at work, talk to our colleagues and so on. So just thank you so much. Again, so our conference today, or our little international discussion, is coming to an end. And it was a pleasure to talk to you. And, it is also your input to building a creative society. And you can see it's easy. We can all do it together. So thank you so much for joining again, and see you at the next International Roundtable.
Thank you.